And there we are. We're here. Hello. Welcome to our Web Studio AMA. My name is Brendan. I'm the Senior Manager of Support and Enablement here at Agility, also known as Web Studio Superfan. And with me today, I have Joel, who I will let introduce himself, King of Dad Jokes.
Hey, folks. I just want to start with one thing that's really important. Today's Thursday, and it's the only Thursday we get this week, so make it a great one. All right. Lamest dad joke ever. I'm CTO here at Agility. It's been a while since I've been on a webinar. It feels like it's been too long since we've done this, so I'm really happy to be back, really happy to be with you and hanging out and talking about one of my favorite new features of Agility, so let's dig into it.
Cool. Give a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to have Joel give us a little history and background of kind of like what Web Studio is and where it even came from. I'll do a quick demo and show you guys around Web Studio, show off the features if you haven't had a chance to dig into it yet yourself. We will also then have Joel kind of like show you what goes into decorating your components and making sure that Web Studio can be unlocked to its fullest potential. We've got some special guests we'll bring on who have some previous experience with Web Studio. And then we'll just kind of like chill and answer questions. It is an AMA. Feel free to interrupt at any point. Drop your questions in the chat, and we will kind of just like interact as we go. If that sounds good to everybody, I will pass it back to Joel.
All right. Well, first of all, another dad joke. Why don't skeletons ever get into fights with each other? Because they don't have the guts. All right. Web Studio is definitely the biggest feature we've released in a long time. It actually comes out of something that has been sort of in the background with Agility, and we've done various iterations over the years. We used to have a feature called Edit in Place, which was a terrible implementation, and then we never really rolled it out into production. But then last year at a conference in Denmark, we demoed a feature called Preview Center, where the idea there was we're just to basically bring preview in product. And a lot of that was derived from, if you ever used like Chrome developer tools and you can actually show a mobile preview, we wanted to have that for Agility sites, like right inside Agility. And that was the biggest thing. But then it kind of snowballed into more and more features where, oh my gosh, now with that, why can't we do Figma style commenting? And then that snowballed into, wait, we're all there with the comments now. Like we can see each other's cursors, and that's really cool. But what if Brendan's typing in a field and then I'm typing in a field? What happens there? So it kind of snowballed into this, like, you know, now we need Figma style comments. Now we need like Google Docs style content editing. And so it kind of turned into a whole lot of things, which is really exciting for us. But it made it a really big feature. So it took a little longer than it might have to roll out. But now that we're out there in the wild, it's been great. Lots of great feedback, and so excited about it.
That's awesome. What do you think is like the biggest difference between, or the thing that you're most excited about that's changed between that initial like preview center version of it and what we have now?
I think the amount of like fine tuning that the team did. We did a ton of iterations. We went to UAT and shared it with our ambassadors. And I'm really, really proud. And I have to say, shout out our product team. The developers have done a great job on not only building a great feature, but iterating on it to get the fine-tuned details. So things like if you put a comment on a particular, like over a particular element, and then you resize you go to mobile mode and that element jumps down, the comment follows that. So those little details like that are really nice. And a lot of those came from feedback. A lot of those came from like some of your feedback, Brendan. So thanks for that. So just people using it and trying it out. This is the longest we've ever had a feature in beta that I can remember, to make sure that the people were getting it. So I think that really worked out well. Like the more user feedback and customer feedback you can get for a feature, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, we've been kind of like building it and playing with it and designing it and tweaking it for the better part of like a year. And I think that like is very evident when you actually get in there and you use it. Like it feels thoughtful.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I will share my screen and we will do a Web Studio demo. And I'll just kind of walk you through what Web Studio is and what we're excited about. So you should be able to see my screen now. This is basically the landing page that you see when you enter Agility for the first time. A couple of the main differences you'll see from our old new UI. is the navigation change here. So we tried to just make it really intuitive and make it make sense. So in the top right, you've got your resources, notifications, settings, profile, and instance picker. You've got your global search at the top. And on the left-hand side, we kind of categorize things in a way that we thought made sense, keep things together that are related. So we have our headless section where you've got your content and your assets. We have web experience, which compromises or is made up of our Web Studio and Pages experiences. And then we have the manage section where you'll find your reports, models, other things outside of those two main areas. The other thing you'll notice is the presence indicator at the top of the screen. So you can now actually see who's online with you and whether or not they're on the same item as you. If I click on Joel,
which is that was weird.
If you click on Joel, you'll be taken to the actual area that person's working on, so you can be on the same item at the same time. Joel follows me over here to the home page. We'll see Joel's picture will turn yellow up here, and it'll actually say Joel is here. So you know that Joel is on the item with me, and we're working on the same thing.
And actually, I find that this is probably one of the nicest things, because now when you're actually working in the system, it's a lot less lonely. You kind of know who's there, which is kind of nice.
Feel like you've got some friends with you.
Yeah.
And this kind of carries through while you're working on things too. So if I go into this centered content component here, and I wanted to go down and say Joel is editing the desktop space, I can actually see the field that he's working on. And I can see that he's in there now, and it locks me out of it so that we don't have too many crashes. And I can see the updates live as he's making them. This way, you know exactly who's in there with you, what items you're working on, and you don't collide. And if he's making changes in here at the same time, I can see that he's typing, and I can see his updates live as he makes them, which is really cool. If I need to talk to Joel for some reason, I want to leave a comment on something, we've kind of overhauled our comment section too. So I can now go in here. I can @Joel. It'll show up here. And I can tag him in a comment. He'll get a notification on his side that he's been tagged in a comment. If we want to start a thread, have a back and forth, we can double click into it here. He can leave notifications or reactions on it. And then once this thread is actually resolved, we've completed the task that we're working on, we can hit resolved and get that off our screen. If for whatever reason you need to bring back a resolved comment, you can do that too. We have a little show only resolved. You can see the previous comments and a full history of conversations that have happened on that item. And if you need to bring something back, you can just uncheck it and bring it back into the unresolved view. Next is the exciting part, which actually brings in like the visual element of Web Studio. So if you click preview, you'll actually be brought into our Web Studio environment. And out of the box with Web Studio, you have your staging or preview environment iframed in, which you can see here, as well as your live environment as well. So you can switch back and forth without having to have a bunch of tabs open. You don't have to open your preview in a new tab. You can actually see your previews directly in Agility. And if you need to see a change that you made, you can save it on the side here. You can click the reload button and you'll be able to see those changes. You can unlock Agility even further by installing our Web Studio SDK and decorating your components and fields so that your staging environment and preview environment can actually talk to Agility. We know where you are and we know what you're working on. Once you have that done, you'll actually be able to have your components here outlined so it knows what you're working on, and it can also follow you around. So if I wanted to go to a different section of the platform, it's going to follow me there as well and know what I'm working on. Oh, I should have just hit the back button. But if we go back into Web Studio on the homepage and say I want to actually update this and make some changes to this item, I can pop into it, hit the edit button. It'll take me right to that specific field so I can make those changes. And I'll be able to see those changes live as I make them. And I can also see Joel's changes live as he makes them I can see that he's typing. Maybe we should update that logo. And this works for all of the different elements on your page. So if I want to go down here, I can change this button as well. We can both be working at the same time. And now instead of scheduling a demo, you can schedule a daemon. And I know that there are times where that might have been helpful for me.
Everything just changed.
Completely change the context with one letter of the button. And not only do your previews and Web Studio work in the pages section of Agility, this also works for content items. So if you're working on a blog post, you'll be able to do the exact same thing there and see your changes live as you make them as well. Up in the top here, we have our Web Studio bar, which is nice. So you have the option to reload your preview if you need to. You'll be able to see whether or not you have everything installed here at a glance, or there are things you need to do still to unlock that full Web Studio experience. And then if you have multiple deployments, you can switch between them here as well. Copy the deployment link, open it in a new tab.
That's huge, actually. That's one of the things that was always hard before, is if people had multiple deployments, the preview button always just went to like the default, but now you can pick your deployment. And we're actually shipping an update very soon where it'll remember the last deployment you were on, which is really nice.
The other really nice thing is the fact that you can resize this. So if you need to see your content and how it would look in different window sizes, you can do this here. You can also do it up here. So if you need to switch between tablet, desktop, mobile mode, you can do that too, which is awesome. Next, we have commenting mode. Commenting mode is super cool. So in commenting mode, it kind of gives you this layer over top of your preview environment where you can leave comments with extra context. So if I wanted to tag Joel again, I can tag him here. I can actually see Joel in here at the same time, see his mouse moving around with me, which is awesome. He can see this bubble on his screen. And if we double click into it, it'll take us into that thread. We can have that conversation. If you resize the screen, the comment bubble will move around as you resize the screen to different modes so that you always have that context, except when I do it when we are demoing it in the AMA, which is how it goes, right? But it allows you to have extra added context when you're actually in here. The comment is attached to that item, and you can leave. I just like seeing people's mouses move around. But the idea is that you have the extra context there. It scrolls with the page, and you can continue to have your back and forth there with a little extra visual element, which is neat. And getting it set up to that point, it's cool that you have your iframed in staging environment and live versions within Agility to begin with. But if you do want to unlock those little extra features, it only takes a few extra steps on the back end, which I will pass over to Joel so he can kind of demo that on his side. Sure thing.
Sure thing. Let's see if I can get my screen added to the stage. There we go. So you can see I was pretty much doing the same thing that Brendan was doing. But I also started up I wanted to show you. So if you sign up with a trial account, it will have so I'm just going to flip over to that right now. So if you have a trial account set up and you deploy that, first of all, you don't have to do any deployment to do a trial account with Agility, which is really cool. It will automatically work in a multi-tenanted way. But if you want to update your own code into there, you can deploy it to like a Vercel or Netlify. That's an automated deployment. So what I've done is I've added a new component onto here and actually coded it all out, a little newsletter component. But you can see that while this component is all nice, it has like the hover and everything, and it'll do live update. So if I click on this component and change some stuff, I can see the live update there, which is great. This one doesn't have that. So by default, if I don't do any work to what's called decorate my component in my fields, it's not gonna work. So I'm actually going to show a little bit of code to see how easy that is. So what I've done is actually just did this a few minutes before this demo, was set the system up for that. So this is the starter. By default, the starter actually has a script to pull in our Web Studio SDK. This is not a React SDK. It's like vanilla JS. So as long as you include this script, and we're going right to unpackage, which basically pulls in the latest version of this essentially NPM package. It's really nice. So you don't have to do anything So if your site's in like PHP or .NET or any of the myriad frameworks that people have used, as long as you pull this script in, then you're good to go. And then in your component, let's actually look at an existing component. So this like text block with image component here, you can see the first thing we've had to decorate is tell Agility where the component is. So that if I look at this, that is, you can see there's this line around the component itself with a little edit button. That will actually open a component and it shows you where the component starts and ends. So let's go and add that to our newsletter component. So I'm going to drop that. I'm going to put it in. You can choose which div to put it in. I'm going to put it in the outer div, so it'll show up like right on the outside. If I wanted to put it on the inner div, then it'd be like, it would just show up in a different spot. So you kind of have some control there. So that's how I get started. Now let's actually decorate a couple of these other fields. Let's put this actually in a div. So this is a case where I've got two fields that really don't have anything between them. So I'm just going to put them in a div so they have something between them instead of a break. Okay, give me 2 seconds to do that. No, not H2, end div. Oh, geez. Okay, don't judge the guy coding. All right. So in order to do a field, let's go back to this one because I can't remember how you do it because, dad jokes. Okay, think of a dad joke, somebody. So a data agility field, and we just give it the field name. Otherwise, Agility has no idea what's going on there, right? So here we go. So we decorated headline 1 and headline 2. Cool. I think I got that right, except now I got a dangling H2. Hang on. All right. Driving everybody crazy, I'm sure, with the bad coding. Some other thing is screwed up now too, but that's what happens when you try to code live in front of people. All right. So close enough. So it's essentially as easy as that to get this to work. And it even works with something like a link button. So we can decorate those as well, just as easily with that. So I'm going to go ahead and go decorate the button. Button and anchor tag, they all work pretty much the same way in terms of doing that. The one sort of additional extra piece of logic you got to put in is if you're doing a dangerously set HTML, like if you're setting an actual HTML field from a rich text area or some case where you wanted to allow your editors to actually type in HTML, you have to let those folks know that it's a rich text field. And of course, I don't remember the syntax, so I'm going to go find the syntax. So yeah, you just got to decorate it with data agility HTML. So this is all described in our docs. But now that I've done that, of course, it looks like I've got an error. JSX div has no corresponding end. Well, for Pete's sakes, looks like it has an end. Okay, close enough. All right, so let's just run this locally, make sure it's still working. So I think I've got Chrome running here. Boop, boop, boop. So unfortunately, local doesn't really give you any extra love there. I messed up the layout, but we're going to leave it for now because we're in the middle of a demo and nothing ever works in a demo. So I'm actually going to check this in. So, updates. Going direct to main, never do that. Always go to a PR first, but, if you want to break your demo. So in about 2 minutes or a minute and a half, this will build on Vercel, and we should be able to actually come through and preview it in here and see our update, which is pretty cool. So that will allow us essentially to be able to do, first of all, like this edit button here essentially does navigation for you. So that opened this component and got me in there. If I click here, it'll actually take me right to that field, which is nice. And you can see here, in this one, we've even got the image decorated so that I'll be able to change images and see what's going on there without having to preview. Oh, it doesn't allow .jpeg. Hang on. Let's try Ellis Island. There you go. So it even does images and stuff. So really nice experience for working with that. Let's see if that build has gone through yet. Let's do a preview. Not quite. It's taking its sweet time because we're again in the middle of the demo. So it will probably take, it'll probably error actually. Let's actually go and double check for Vercel 1 sec. It looks like it has built, so that's good. I'm going to refresh this one last time. I promise this is the end of my super boring demo. And here we go. So you can see we've got our little edit button. Oh my gosh, did this actually work? And then we now have live updates, which is really cool. And we can say, we can update our subscribe or, whatever, change all that different stuff, which is really cool. And even have HTML updates in there as well. So really nice experience on working with all these fields. Pretty cool. And that's the end of my TED Talk. Thanks, guys. It's been great.
No, that was awesome because I don't usually get to see that kind of like back end side of it either. Like I know how easy it is and I kind of know how it works, but to actually see you do that live and actually see it work is awesome. That's really cool.
What it shows is that there's just a little bit more investment of time to set up your components to give a better experience for the editor. And I think if anything I've learned in my career is that when you're building websites as a developer, the more you can do for your editor experience, the better. And the longer your website will last.
Agreed. Cool. And speaking of people who have some experience with Web Studio, we have a couple of special guests joining us today. So we have a newly launched ambassador program at Agility where we take some of our core users and have them, when we demo features for them early, get them to test it in UAT, provide their feedback so that we can take that feedback and make sure it's implemented into the product before we actually release it to the wild. That being said, I'm going to bring on two of our ambassadors to kind of share a little bit about their experience with Web Studio and their initial impressions of it.
Tyson,
there we go.
Hey, folks, how y'all doing? Don't forget you're on mute. You got to unmute.
Unmuted.
Yeah.
Hi.
Good to see you.
So joining us today, we've got Tyson from Boys Town, as well as Carol from Sovereign, who is currently experiencing a fire alarm, but is joining us anyways, which we really appreciate.
Dedicated customers.
Really brave. Dedicated. I'm Tyson Franzen. I work with Boys Town. I am a web specialist, meaning that I get to dabble in a lot of different things and wear a lot of different hats, and agility is one of them. One of the things I love about it so far is just being able to see that other users are either in the system or on the specific page. We had issues in the past where it's like, I know I just put something there and now it's gone, and determined that it was because people were editing it at the same time. So that totally solved that problem.
Nice.
I also love that, it just says, hey, the user is here. That's great. As far as the commenting goes, I think that being able to add people is going to be a nice feature. I'm really looking forward to the adding somebody and it sending an email notification potentially. That is one of the things that I know will really help out, because part of the issue is sometimes people don't notice that notification in the top right, but they'll generally see the email and, oh, I need to go look. It's kind of a good reminder, but yeah, I'm loving what we can potentially do with Web Studio. We don't quite have the SDK installed yet, and I'm glad to see that it looks like it's just adding essentially a script. But yeah, loving it.
Yeah, when you add the script, it adds the ability for it to like fall around the general page navigation and stuff like that. And then when you decorate the fields, that's when you get the live field updating.
Yeah. And that email notification call out is a good segue to, we'll talk about kind of like what's coming soon in Agility 2 after this. Cool. Thank you so much for that. Carol, did you want to give a little quick intro and just kind of like your insights and first thoughts of Web Studio as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Carol Sod. I'm a digital marketing specialist from Sovereign, and I'm the content editor, the main content editor for our website. And I'm kind of the only one using Web Studio at the moment. It's pretty new. There's been a lot going on, but I have very much enjoyed what I've been seeing. As a marketer and a content editor, that ability to switch between mobile, tablet, desktop view has been really, really important for us. We have a lot of users who are on the go and are searching, or traffic is coming through mobile views. So we need to always make sure that everything's accessible and easy to, navigate on your phone, as easy as it is on your desktop. So that moving around actually helped me find something this morning that I was like, oh no, this is, we've got to change this. So that's one of my favorite parts. It seems small, but again, as a marketer, that's huge for me. And I've just lost my train of thought. I apologize. It's actually helpful from a training perspective too. I've got some people I will be training as content editors, so they can watch me make changes in real time. So they'll see, oh, okay, how do I change the text here? Oh, okay, I'm just going to do it right now so you can see. I'll share my screen with you and you can watch it happen. Right. So Web Studio has, I don't know if that was the intended purpose of it, but it's really, really helpful as a training tool. people get to watch me make changes in real time. So
Great.
It's really
yeah,
cool to think about, because we don't always think about all of those use cases, right, when we're actually building it. And I don't think, training specifically was something that came up as a use case, but it's so cool to see the different ways that people think to use Web Studio once it's actually out there.
That's great.
Yeah. When we first noticed the ability to see that other people were here, one of my teammates said, "I see you." I'm like, "Wow, that's creepy." And then I realized what they were talking about. So I quite like that. It's nice to be able to keep track of, oh, my developers are working on this now. Anything to do with the developer piece, I'm going to let them explore a bit more because it goes over my head. But so far, I'm really enjoying Web Studio. And yeah, I second that. Having an email go to somebody when you at them is going to be pretty solid. We all get super busy, so sometimes you're not looking in the right places. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, just before we segue into that, it is an AMA, and while we've got both of you here, did either of you have a question about like Web Studio, existing features just from your time playing with it that you wanted to ask while you've got both of us here?
Something did just pop into my head when you said that it's a script. I'm just curious, will that have any effect on page speed, like loading time?
Yeah, it shouldn't. It's a really, really small JavaScript. It's like less than, I guess, like 3K. And what it does is it uses frame communication to talk to the parent. So if there's no parent frame, it doesn't do anything. So it needs to actually get activated. So it shouldn't have any. It will have a negligible effect, like a very small effect. So you could do something where you don't deploy it in certain environments, but it's such a negligible effect based on the benefits that you get that I think it's worth it.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Cool. Carol, anything from your side?
Honestly, not at the moment. The only thing I will say is that sometimes on a small screen, it does feel a little bit crowded because you've got the side rail, you've got the middle, you've got the other side. When I'm on my large monitor, it's perfect. It is, and I'm generally on a large monitor. It's the only way I can truly function. But that is the only thing I would say. Is there a way to streamline that to make it work on a smaller screen? It's not the biggest thing in the world, but as I was playing around with it, I was like, oh, this is there was a lot of like scrolling, a lot of trying to zoom out just to see everything total. But yeah, that's it.
Totally.
Honestly, it's been fun so far.
I know when I work on my iPad, so I try to like off hours, like not work on my laptop or big monitor, just work on my iPad. So when I'm on an iPad screen, which is a lot smaller, what I'll do is I'll unpin the right and the left panels to just give me the main panel, and that helps a bit. But when I'm on my phone, I definitely notice it. So that's one of the things that has come up lately. And I'm not going to say we have short-term plans for a mobile version, but it has come up many times, especially for like just doing quick edits on something. I want to be able to see what something looks like on my phone and just sort of maybe approve something. So that's something that it definitely has come up in conversation, and we're thinking about it.
Amazing.
Awesome. Perfect. Good segue there. Joel, did you want to talk a little bit about kind of like what's coming next with Web Studio? What's on the docket?
Well, I already dropped some comments in there about a few things. So definitely the email notifications are coming. So that's actually in our next iteration that is dropping early December. So that'll be and the cool thing about that is if I'm actually in Agility and I see that notification, so I'm Brendan and I are like chatting back and forth in the comments panel, I won't get an email for those because I saw those comments. But if within and we're not sure of the time frame, between 1 and 5 minutes, I haven't responded to that comment, then I'll get the email. So if I wasn't in Agility, I'll get the emails. Otherwise, I'm not going to get an inbox flooded full of stuff I already know about, which is nice. And so you'll get a comment if you so you get an email if you got added or if someone replied to a thread that you created and stuff like that. And we're considering adding like subscriptions too, where you might be able to like subscribe to everything on an item so that any threads get created on that item. So we're not sure about that one yet. That's one of the things that came up in sort of like idle conversation. So emails will be there. And then the first sort of other platform we're looking at is adding Slack integration. So that's, and maybe Teams integration as well. So you can basically use whatever platform you want. And then, obviously if I reply right in Slack, then I wouldn't get the email if I hadn't got that yet. So, basically we're we're looking at how other tools work that we like, and we really like how Figma comments work. That's what we use for design. And so we're kind of looking at the things we like about that experience and trying to emulate some of those things.
Yeah. The other thing we're looking at too right now is just better notifications when you're tagged in app. So we get like a more prominent drop down at the top of the screen to let you know you've been tagged in something, and a very satisfying little bell noise to let you know that you have a notification that you can turn off if you don't want the bell noise, but it'll be there as an option.
I have a feeling we'll get more feedback on the bell noise than any other thing in the product.
I know, maybe.
We'll see.
All right. Well, thank our ambassadors, especially, for joining us today. It's been cool to do this kind of an AMA and webinar and actually get feedback from people who aren't us and people who have been using it. So that's been really valuable. Thank both of you for joining us.
Thanks. Appreciate you both.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks for having us.
Shout out to all of our ambassadors, and to you, Brendan, for running that ambassador program and kind of getting that kickstarted this year. It's pretty awesome.
Excellent. I think we actually have a question from Johan in the chat there. It says, this is a great feature, and we have installed the SDK and started decorating our components. A question, can we decorate content that is coming from a content list that's not a component or dynamic page items?
Not yet, but that's coming. So if you have, and that's a great point. So if a lot of content might not be directly on a component, but on a nested list on that component or something like that, you can't easily decorate those right now. If you find a hack, then feel free to let me know of the existing SDK. But we're going to add decorators for nested linked content that should hopefully do that.
Cool.
Awesome.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for everybody in the chat for joining us. Thank you for your questions. Thank you, our ambassadors. Thank you to Joel for being here with us today also and giving a kind of like background on Web Studio and also giving a little peek behind the curtain as to how it actually works and how easy it is to get it set up.
Wait. One more thing.
Yeah, do it.
Why are math books always so sad? Because they just can't take care of all their problems. Oh.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
All right. No. On that note, if you need to revisit Joel's dad jokes, there will be a recording of this available. You can always come back and rewatch it and relive these moments that we've had here today.
See you, everybody. Take care.
Take care. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.